again. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I've got a very quiet slot, so I'm not going to complain about that, but hopefully some more people might join. My name's Alice. I'm the client.
Mind if I come a bit?
No, not at all.
Thank you.
My name's Alice Broadbent. I'm the Client Services Director at the Engine Room. We're the brand and design agency that work with William Smith, and we have done for about 20 years or so, probably a little bit more.
Way longer than that, Darren, is it?
Yeah. Not me personally, but yeah, so we work supporting in terms of the brand development, campaign development, and just overall making sure we have that connection and relationship as you kind of grow and change as a business. So we are, might be worth flicking on to the next.
Yeah.
This is the bit I'll forget to do. I'll just stay on the same slide the whole time. We are a small agency. There's about 9 of us, and we are made up of brand and graphic designers as well as brand strategists. We're based in Mirfield, but we do have clients all over the globe, mainly focused in kind of B2B, but we do have some B2C clients as well. We're members of the Design Council, and we have won 7 Design Effectiveness Awards, including 1 Grand Prix, which we are obviously very proud of. And essentially we help brands to define, strengthen and communicate their brand, to make sure that kind of what customers experience is a reflection of who they truly are. So next slide. Yeah. Today I'm going to kind of talk you through 7 habits that we have kind of picked up having worked with strong brands over the years, and things that we see consistently showing up that kind of differentiate the good brands from the great ones. So this is a really great place to start. This quote is from Marty Neumeier. He's the author of The Brand Gap. And he says, your brand is not what you say it is, it's what your customers say it is. So obviously what that means, essentially your brand is not just your logo, your strapline or your marketing. It's essentially the sum of all those little interactions that people have every day with your brand. So what we kind of want to do is make sure that we are creating those touch points and making sure that there is a consistent way that we're showing up every time and every experience that people have with us. So let's explore the 7 habits that we've kind of established, and hopefully there's some practical and actionable insights that you can take away today. So the first habit of strong brands is don't try to be all things to all people. Strong brands know who they are for and also who they're not for. I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of trying to talk to everybody, and that's just not going to land. Hi. Sorry, I've already started, but I think we were just kicking off. No, not at all. I know it's lunchtime. I know, it's a tough gig.
So we'll just quickly, very shortly, just introduce.
Yeah.
Seminar guy.
Yeah, sorry, you're going to get tired of my voice.
What's your name?
My name's Alice Broadbent. I'm the Client Services Director at the Engine Room. We're a brand and design agency based in Mirfield. We've worked with William Smith for about 20 years now, and we work with lots of other B2B companies across the globe. We're based in Mirfield.
Just to add on to that, these guys, they do literally everything for us. From all the marketing campaigns you see us do, we put our idea on the paper and they just create everything. Mm-hmm. It's like having an in-house team. It's incredible. I can't pick them up enough. So
the sat back there.
Yeah. So everything you ever see visually wise is created in the main by these guys, and they really are big helpers.
Thanks, Jen. So yeah, today I want to share kind of 7 habits that we've picked up over the years having worked with strong brands, to kind of the things that are really differentiating good brands from great brands, and how you can kind of stand out and be memorable from your competitors essentially. So the first habit is about not trying to be all things to all people. Strong brands know who they're targeting and who they're for, but they also know categorically who they're not for. So it's really important that you kind of find that differentiator. And I think if we skip on to the next slide, Just something familiar, essentially, supermarkets. If we think about Tesco, over the last couple of decades, they've branched out into pretty much everything. You go to Tesco, you can pick up a Greggs, you can get a key cut, you can buy homewares, clothing. You know, they've got their, that's it, yeah. You can get insurance, pensions, you can pick up their own brand stuff, you can bulk buy, you can get Tesco Finest. Literally every base is covered. But you think about Waitrose, you think about quality. They've positioned themselves in that premium end of the market. They've got quality product. You associate a quality in-store experience. You know that the interactions that you're going to have with the partners that work in store is going to be of a certain level. And that's kind of the differentiator. They've kind of really picked their mark of where they want to stand. And if you think Waitrose, that's probably immediately what you're going to think about. Whereas Tesco's sitting in that kind of middle area where, you know, we're clamouring with Sainsbury's and Asda and Morrison's, there's no real differentiation between the four of them. So if we skip to the next slide, what the main things to focus on is that strong brands concentrate on being famous for one key thing. And when you do that, you can really work magic. You can charge more, you can create more brand loyalty, and you can stand for something that's really clear and people will remember you for. Whereas generalists, they struggle where to focus their energy because they're kind of trying to see, I guess they're spreading themselves too thin, essentially. So when you're thinking about your own brand or the business that you work in, it's worth thinking about kind of what it is that you want to be known for. What do you want to be famous for? The second habit of strong brands is having a really clear sense of identity. So if we skip to the next one. What is brand identity? So it's made up of kind of three key things, and the simplest way to try and remember it. You have purpose, that's the why. Why do you essentially do what you do as a business? Principles or values, they're kind of interchangeable, but what do you stand for? And personality, what you like to work with, how do you show up every day as a business? And it's really key to kind of think about these things, to think about what your identity is going to be. You know, what do you want to be known for? What do you want to stand for? You know, do you want to be all about cost effectiveness? Do you want to be known as the most innovative? Do you want to be best customer service? You know, you don't necessarily have to have that super strong purpose, but it is really good to know kind of why you do what you do and what you want to stand for. So if we move on. No, it's fine. I keep forgetting to prompt you. Essentially, if you think about it as the DNA of who you are, is the starting point, it's the driving force of everything behind your brand. And it's those kind of raw components that everything starts from. As I mentioned, having a purpose doesn't work for all brands, but defining your identity is really crucial. You know, I don't think you need to worry about having you know, a lofty mission statement, but actually just thinking about the core reason why your brand exists and kind of sticking behind that. The third habit of strong brands is about cutting to the chase. If we flip to the next one, essentially you guys know that every day we are bombarded with messages. It's on our phone, it's on the TV, it's on socials, it's in the supermarket, it's even at the pub. You can't get away from it. But the messages that actually really cut through are the ones that are just simple and direct and straight to the point. So that's one of the things that we just need to remember. And using IKEA as a really good example of this, in terms of how they message and how they talk, they are very simple, they're very practical, they know how to communicate with people. If we think about their products and their communication, it's all about simplicity, practicality, but also being human. And they also make sure that they're not trying to give the same message to all audiences. Obviously, if you're going to IKEA, it might be that you're a family. It might be that you're a student moving away from home for the first time. It might be that you're a first-time buyer and you're wanting to kind of set up home. There's lots of different stages of life that people are going to be at when they're shopping at IKEA. And that's why it's really key to make sure that your messages are landing with the right people. The other thing that IKEA does really well is, they don't outshout others. It's more about the clarity of the message, and that's something that they really get on point. So I think that's another key thing to remember is, what your key messages are going to be, and stick to those and communicate them without the waffle and really clearly. Next one. So this is kind of just a bit of a summary, really. Brands are clamouring for attention all of the time. You need to find a way to kind of rise above that noise, say something different, make your products easy to understand and easy to use. When you think about IKEA's products names, they're really memorable, even though they're Swedish. If you think about their instructions for flat pack, they're super simple, easy to follow. Even the way that they've designed the stores, they're forcing you around a certain way, but you know how to, it's a simple design layout. Again, it just makes it easier for the customer to understand. Sorry, I think there was one last thing.
Yes.
Oh. And yeah, speak to different audiences individually, tailor your messaging and make sure what you're saying is going to resonate with them. So we'll flick onto the tortoise. The fourth habit of strong brands, bit of a strange one, but be a tortoise. This maybe contradicts a lot of what people might think about building a brand. We'll skip to the next slide. I think a lot of people, they think about going viral, and a lot of successful brands don't happen overnight. Prime is probably one of those examples where essentially they arrived in the market what seemed like overnight. And that was based on all the kind of celebrity hype. There was a lot of social buzz. There was queues around the block to get this stuff. People were reselling them at extortionate amounts. But when the hype died down, because they didn't have an established identity, purpose, there was no real brand equity in Prime, the demand just isn't there. There's no reason for customers to go back. And that's probably why you're seeing them all in the bargain bins at B&M now, because there's just no reason for you to kind of go and pick up a bottle of Prime versus the competitors. So if you want to build a strong brand, you need to ditch that shorter term view. Successful, strong brands think about the long game. As I mentioned, overnight successes don't happen overnight. You have to, unlike certain kind of marketing techniques where you can have tactics and it might be that you go viral, brand building is a kind of longer term thing where you do need to kind of put the time in and build that trust and build that recognition. And the other thing is about staying focused. It can be really tempting to feel like you need to refresh things, and that's mainly because you're going to be, you're in your brand all day, every day, you're living it. You're going to get bored with it, but just kind of, if you can hold back the need to kind of only refresh when you need to, and be the tortoise, not the hare. Think of the longer term in this instance. On to the next one. So the fifth habit of strong brands is all about being disciplined. So we're going to do a little quick-fire quiz. I'm glad there's more people here, otherwise it would have just been like the engine room guys shouting back at me who already know the answers. So what brands pop into your head when you read the following words? Just one. Next one. Yeah. So to Kit Kat, the association is obviously have a cuppa, have a Kit Kat, take a break. How long do you think Kit Kat have been using that particular line? When do you think they first started using that?
I would say about 50 years.
If we click on. 1957.
Not far off.
Not far off.
58.
Yeah. Next one. Gives you wings.
We know about Red Bull.
So again, obviously Red Bull, they're all about energy, all about adventure. How long do you reckon they've been using that line?
30.
Yeah, I should have brought a prize. If we flick on, there we go, 1997, they've been using that same line. And then the final one. Close, starts with the same letters. Take the first three letters. Yeah.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah. So yeah, Duracell have been lasting longer for a good long while now. Anyone want to have a stab at how long they've been lasting longer?
20 years? 40.
Click, click. I think we might need two. Since 1970. So essentially, what does this mean? This is brand discipline. This is a brand picking a line and sticking with it, not getting bored. But I mean, other than the Duracell example, which I think always trips people up, you know, that you can understand why those lines have resonated, because they really have been embedded into our kind of psyche for such a long time. So consistency is key. Even though you might get bored of saying the same thing over and over again, every day there's going to be a customer who's hearing that line for the first time. And being disciplined doesn't mean being boring. It's about trust and recognition, and that's how you become a memorable brand. And at this point, it's just good to refer back to Habit 2 about having a strong identity that people remember you for. So the sixth habit of strong brands is about understanding customers' needs. So this is quite an interesting one in terms of, especially in the era of kind of Trustpilot and FIFO and immediate feedback, it's really easy to knee-jerk into a reaction because you might have had a negative review or you might have had a negative comment. But what we don't want to be doing is, I guess, catering to the whims and trends that our customers see. So if we flick onto the next slide, we want to really understand our audiences, understand kind of the things that make them tick. You know, why do they buy what they buy? What frustrates them? How do they shop? What excites them? And understanding that means that we can build a really strong brand experience for them. Aldi are a really great example of doing this. So, you know, essentially they engage with their customers with humour. You know, they have really engaging social campaigns. We've, you know, probably pretty familiar with the ongoing feud with M&S and Colin the Caterpillar. They have really kind of creative and clever campaigns, and also they don't compromise. They don't kind of follow trends as such. If anything, sometimes they're kind of leading the trends, and also they stick to their value-led model. That's always at the heart of what they do. So there's some examples here. You know, they're really in touch with that kind of state of the nation, cost of living crisis, you know, get a proper raise. That's really nice. I think that's speaking to their audience. That's showing that they understand. The whole thing with Rishi Sunak, you know, coming out of Tesco, realising you just spent 40 quid on eggs and bread. Like, it's just stuff that is really going to resonate. Copy nothing, Jaguar, you sound like our legal team. And just calling out M&S constantly, like Walnut Whipgate, World War III, we whipped you. They're just great with this kind of stuff. Even the insight that they've got here, lists are made to be broken. There's no way anyone is going into Aldi without coming out with something from the middle aisle. It's just, you know, there's going to be a toasty maker or something in your trolley, even though you didn't mean there to be. So it's just about, you know, they remember who they are and, you know, who they're talking to. If you flick onto the next slide. They involve their audiences, but they're not obsessing over them. They're not kind of bending to their every whim, and they're stronger for doing that. And they identify genuine audience needs, which if you can do that, that makes that experience for your customer stronger. And then finally, we have habit number 7, which is all about being comfortable with change. So if we flick onto the next slide. Obviously, change is happening all the time, but as humans, you know, we're quite resistant to that. We like routine and we like consistency. And because businesses are made up of people, they operate in much the same way. And, you know, there is something to be said for obviously not changing all the time, but there is also something to be said for identifying when change needs to happen. And there's a couple of examples here which are kind of either end of the spectrum really that I wanted to talk to you about. So Lego, you know, in the early 2000s, Lego was really failing. Apparently the quote was that they were losing about £1 million a day. They'd expanded way too far into areas that just weren't relevant to them, and they'd kind of lost the core of what they actually did. They brought in a new CEO, and he just stripped things right back, and he took it to what do we stand for, and it's the brick. It's that whole idea around creativity and play. And from that, they just kind of rebuilt from the foundations. They made some really smart partnership decisions. So obviously franchising with people like Star Wars, and that's obviously gone on to various different franchises now. They engaged with communities who were, adult builders who were doing stuff, the really crazy stuff that you see. And they've just gone from strength to strength to strength, and essentially they are just a massive cultural powerhouse now. I don't think there's anybody who's not played with Lego at some point in their life, or who, if a Lego set was put in front of you, you wouldn't immediately pick it up and want to play with it. So, they really recognised that if they didn't change and do something, and something quite drastic to actually strip it right back to the roots, they were going to become obsolete. On the flip side, we've got Blockbuster. So again, probably similar era, time zone, early 2000s. Blockbuster was, kind of had thousands of stores worldwide. It was probably a Friday night tradition for everybody to go to the Blockbuster. They ran on a really traditional model of, physical videos and DVDs and making profits off late fees, essentially. And they saw streaming as a niche trend. They didn't think that it was really going to take off. They hadn't considered how easily people can change in terms of their habits and what they're expecting from a business. They were even contacted by Netflix and asked to partner with them, and they rejected them. And obviously, we all know what's happened with Netflix, probably one of the most famous brands there is at the moment, and we all know what's happened to Blockbuster. So again, they were so stuck in thinking that they were doing things the right way. They weren't willing to change. They weren't willing to see how society was changing. And obviously it became the end of them. So something just to really remember when you think about your own brand, are you stuck in your ways, or are you ready to evolve? Do you need to change? I'll flick to the next slide. I think I might have covered all of that there. But yeah, the brands that stay curious, flexible, and are willing to adapt are the ones that thrive. And that, that is the same for big brands like Lego and Blockbuster as it is for small businesses. It's all relevant. If you're not willing to kind of keep up with change, it's likely that you're going to kind of be left behind along the way. And the last thing that I wanted to kind of share with you before I wrap up today is on the next slide. Go past that. Ooh, that doesn't look great, does it? Never mind, I've got a printout. Stay old-fashioned. At the engine room, we use something called the brand canvas. That's also really difficult to see as well. I'll hand one out afterwards. Something called the brand canvas, which is essentially the building blocks of how you can organise your brand. If this looked a little bit better, we'd be able to see that it's made up of kind of 11 different boxes that you can fill in, including things like your purpose, your products and services, your principles, key differentiators, delivery channels. And we use this as a kind of real starting point to kind of get to grips and under the skin of a brand. We essentially unpack a brand that might come to us and who are wanting help, and we put it all back together and reconstruct it based on kind of what we know to be true about that brand and the things that we want to focus on going forward. It flexes. We know all businesses are different, so it can flex depending on kind of what your business focuses on. It might be that you don't have a particularly strong purpose, but what your products and services are or want to be, or if you're moving into something different. So there's different ways that we can approach it. It flexes to work in lots of different instances. And I wanted to kind of share this with you to take away. So if it's something that you just wanted to have a stab at for your own brand or for the business that you work for, it's quite a nice, tool to have in your back pocket, really, when you're thinking about your business. So yeah, I will leave those at the front if anybody does want to have a look at that. And other than that, unless there's any questions, that's me done. Yes.
Sorry, I won't shout out anything.
Don't shout anything else.
Just wondered what your take is on the rise of AI and how that's affecting design and creativity.
Yeah, well, at the engine room, we've got to embrace it, really. And I think, as Sean mentioned before, we do use it. It's really great for content-led stuff. It's really great for research, especially a lot of the discovery stuff that we do at the beginning of our projects. That is quite intensive, and a Google search can be, it can take a lot of time. what we can do is, get a lot of information up front. We can summarise lots of information that we get. We do have to be really careful, and we've had to put things in place because obviously anything that goes into AI becomes public domain. So, if we're dealing with something that's really confidential, we wouldn't use AI in those instances. We've got to be really mindful of that. But we use it as a tool, and we can see that there's things that it's going to, there's certain things that certain designers do that it can make easier or it might change forever. But I think it also, there's the business that we are, we're very strategic, we're very ideas-based, and I think AI is a little way off in terms of being able to reach that level. But from an everyday, smaller, functional things, research, that kind of stuff, we do use it, and we do think it's a great tool to have, really.
We use in every facet of our business as well. Sean said, what was it, just the work of 1,000 people in 10 minutes?
Yeah, and it's that kind of really labour-intensive stuff that it's so super quick, and you do need a human eye over it, don't you? But yeah, I would definitely use it. And Rob did a really great session with us last time we were in.
You guys use it or not?
ChatGPT is my best friend. I get angry with it sometimes.
I did the other week, actually. Yeah. The best man speech used it for that.
Oh, really?
Make it funny and it wasn't.
Outside of that, we've started dabbling with the email response stuff. So
Yeah.
I feel like it'll draft a reply for you. Some sales needs, bits and pieces there, isn't it?
Yeah. I think even stuff like, when Sean was talking about the cadence of email messaging, and when you're kind of doing that outreach stuff, you can plan those emails, you can write those emails, you can automate those emails. Like, that is a lot, that used to be somebody's job, but that, you can automate that now so easily.
I think the other thing we've used it for that's relevant for our industry was improving the quality of images. So if we've been sent really poor quality image and the customer wants it really big,
Yeah.
we found a program that we can pay for a number of credits and drop the image in there, and it,
Rather than back and forth.
it really sort of works it for us and it gives it back to us really good.
Yeah. The actual quality is so good as well. This is a really basic thing, but we went on away day a couple of weeks ago, and we just did like an aging thing on all of us, on all of our headshots from the agency, and the actual quality of them was insane. Like, they really did look so realistic.
My wife was using it last night to see what different haircut styles it
Oh shit, that's a really good idea. Anything else? Or does everyone just want pizza? Come on, I bet everyone's starving now. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.